Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Board of Selectmen meeting. Today is November 19th. I'd ask everybody to please rise and pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Before we start the meeting, I'd like to welcome home Master Chief Barry Crawford. I've served 14 months in Afghanistan as a Master Chief in Communications. Phil and I had the pleasure to see Barry yesterday at a celebration at the VFW, and welcome home and thank you for your service. True American hero, so thanks again, Barry. Minutes. Do we have to take a quick look at the minutes? We have the minutes for November 1st and 5th, 2012. Also executive session minutes for June 11th, July 23rd, and September 24th. I really kept you guys busy, huh? So, the first set of minutes are November 5th. Was that the night of town meeting?
November 1st.
November 1st. Why does it say?
November 5th.
Oh, yeah,
November
sorry.
1st and 5th.
Yeah, okay. All right, so let's take a shot at these. Let's start one at a time, and then we'll see if there's any discussion.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the minutes for November 1st, 2012.
Second.
So can I have a motion and a second? Let's have any discussion on November 1st. Okay, here we go.
There's, if I may, Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
there's nothing in here about some discussion that we had about handouts on the, I don't know exactly what they were called, but they were a Pembroke Initiative, or maybe handouts. And somebody had brought them into the meeting room, and the chair did question me if I knew about them. And I stated that I wasn't aware of them, you know, that I wasn't involved. I had donated some funds to that committee, but that I was not on the board or anything. And sometime later, Beverly did come in, and Beverly Enos, the moderator, and she would question, and she said that whoever I guess was the chairperson had discussed it with her, and she had given the okay to hand them out.
Chairperson of that particular committee.
Yeah, I believe, yeah.
Yeah, I think there was some discussion around that, whether those were allowed at town meeting, and
Yeah.
we had asked Mike, and then Beverly cleared that up and took them and put them, well, the assistant moderator, I think.
Yeah, I
Took
mean,
them and put them
I
out.
would question who brought them into the room, removed them, and then I don't know when they went back out, whether the full public had a chance. And
Well, they were out pretty early.
you know, you did make a statement, Mr. Chair, that we had decided not to put anything out from one side or the other, and I, and you were questioning me, and so I just felt that I think at that time our meeting had not been called to order.
Right.
But still, we were all present in the room, so.
Well, I
I
questioned,
don't know
because
how
we, again, the school building committee was, the information we got was nothing was supposed to be allowed at town meeting. That was the message we got, and that's why I questioned. Those were in the room when we got in that little cafeteria room there where the Coke machine is at the high school. Those were already in there.
Yeah,
I don't think any of us, I know I didn't bring them in, those were just in there. And we questioned whether those, well, at that point, it was questioned, well, we were told, the school building committee was told that we weren't supposed to be handing anything out. And then Beverly came in and said, it's okay, so, well, okay, well, somehow things showed up after the fact. But I think both sides, they were put out probably pretty much at the same time. So, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what happened. I don't know how they got in there.
Nothing in there. We did
Yeah.
have some discussion on that, and as I say.
We should put something in the minutes that we
I can
discussed
add
whether
in
it was
and
to be allowed or not. And then as soon as we said,
have
as
the
soon as we
next
got the
meeting.
word they were allowed, they were
Next
shipped.
meeting.
Somebody, assistant moderator brought them right back out, so.
Yeah, so I didn't want to interrupt you. I actually grabbed them off the table. It was right before our meeting started at 6. And when we got the clarification, we put them right back out there. So they were out there well before the town meeting started. It was just a point of order, just to make sure that we weren't doing anything that was.
Okay, well, I also questioned when David said we, if you remember, I said, well, who are we? And then David said, well, I decided, so then
No,
I
it
don't
wasn't
know
me,
whether
yeah.
that was the school building
Right.
committee.
That's what I was referring to, yep.
Okay,
School building, because we were, and Mike had said during the week that we weren't allowed to give out anything from the school building committee at that point. And then when Beverly came in and said it was okay, that decision was reversed, so. Wasn't me personally. So, all right, so do we want to add something in there that there was discussion around whether any type of pamphlet could have been put out?
I will add it to the minutes and we
Okay.
can.
All right, so
Let's
we'll
take a
hold
vote,
off.
we'll vote against.
All right, all those in favor?
Can I get one more thing?
Oh, sure.
Just a reminder, there is something on here about, we were gonna try to talk about the library, and there was, to try to get some people to come before us today, but we probably couldn't set that up yet, but let's not.
I have put out I'll speak to that once we,
Okay,
after this.
thank you.
vote. Okay, so all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed by nay?
Nay.
Okay, so we're gonna hold off on these. I
Okay,
did,
okay.
speak with Mr. Lout about it, and he said he would be getting back to me on the, to talk about the water issues at the library.
Thank you.
Okay? All right, next set of minutes, November 5th.
Chair, I move that we approve the minutes from our meeting on November 5th, 2012.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on these minutes? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, motion carries. Executive session minutes,
We'll start with the 11th.
June 11th, yep.
Oh, hold on. Chair, I move that we approve the executive session minutes from June 11th, 2012.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, any discussion, excuse me? All those in favor? Aye.
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 Okay.
Chair, I move that we approve the minutes from our executive session meeting on July 23rd, 2012.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Is that a vote or was that,
Saved by the
was
bell.
that discussion? Okay. September 24th.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve our executive session meetings minutes from September 24th, 2012.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, now that we get that out of the way, Parks and Rec. Good evening, gentlemen. We want to take the first issue first, as far as the music industry fee.
Sure, that'll be hopefully a shorter one.
Yeah.
You want me to give a little background?
Yeah,
on
sure.
that?
Give us the spiel.
Why don't you
please.
introduce yourselves to the public?
I'm
while
sure.
you're-
I'm Jim Demento, Chairman of the Park and Rec, and John Pinkerby's here from the GAA on the second matter we'll discuss tonight. Yeah, we've had a request to pay a licensing fee for music license, so we don't have any patent infringement on the music industry. And this was given to the Park and Rec just to pay. It opened up a number of discussions. Number one is, we felt that there was basically the person who plays the music is responsible for making sure he doesn't have any copyright infringements. We do not have any concerts down there that are for pay. And the members of the Park and Rec felt that, you know, we'd basically be covered under our own liability, but we sent it to Mike Farrell and he sent it to the lawyers, and there still came in question about we should be paying this fee. It got under the craw of a couple of the Park and Rec members about the whole idea of, you know, paying for something that, you know, we're not really involved with. You know, their feeling was that someone plays a song and gets paid. We asked the concert series to have in their contract that they will play no music that is copyright protected, and felt that since that's the only piece of music we play down there, that should cover it. And the question becomes, this might be the long list of people looking for us to pay other fees for copyright infringement, and the Park and Rec members were concerned about why being, you know, seems like the town is being asked to pay for something that's should be under the discretion of the people who play the music themselves.
The only issue with that is that even though you have a contract that says they're liable, we can still be sued if they don't have the proper documentation.
Correct.
And looking at the opinion from Tom, He says that, you know, it's a lot cheaper to pay $320 and be covered than have to litigate or defend some type of action. Question I have is, though, if we sign this with BMI, does that cover us as a blanket for the whole town, or is it just,
Yes, it is.
it's a blanket? Anything we have
School
in town,
performances, everything.
everything. So,
It's an annual fee.
Okay.
okay, it's $320.
Yeah. Craft fairs, farmers market.
And I also have to say, that not everybody in the Park and Rec was of equal opinion.
Okay.
I'm-
So, did you actually take a vote on this? And
Yes.
what was the vote? Do you remember?
The vote at the time, the first vote, there was, I think it was unanimous. The second vote, there was one or two people who, I think it was 5 and 2, 5 in favor, 5 not in favor, 2 in favor.
So if we paid this, Mike, it would blanket us for everything. Performances at the library, you know, as Stu says, outdoor, although I know that the high school band program, I'm sure they're getting the proper, you know, proper permission to play the songs that they're playing, but I would hope.
And also no special, I think it doesn't protect us from special events.
Yes, it does.
It-
Anything sponsored by the town or on town property.
Okay, I have, okay.
Just clarify that one question first.
Most towns pay this. It's just, the state and federal governments are exempt, but municipal governments aren't. So they get their license fee, one way or the other. As Tom pointed out, there's not and I went on the web, just to see what types of lawsuits they can engender, and they usually go after bars and, you know, places where music is generally paid, and they do get very stiff fines, and they put certain businesses out of business because they refuse to pay too. And this is, I don't think they're gonna sue us, but, you know, I'm here,
$320
I'm here to
insurance
tell
policy.
you, you know, if we don't pay this, we might get sued. Whether you wanna pay it or not, that's up to you.
So our base insurance, though, that we carry as a municipality doesn't have any type of copyright infringement coverage?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
All right. Any questions? Gary, you said you had a question.
Well, if this is covering us for, you know, what, you had an excellent question earlier, and I thought about when, you know, Memorial Day, when the band is playing, as you say, it covers that. Could somehow the school be already paying this? Have we checked that? We don't wanna be double paying, I guess is what I'm saying.
No, I did not check that.
And it,
Generally, and as I've had some exposure with this with Drum Corps International,
yes,
it's up to the entity, generally speaking, the band directors, the music directors, get permission before they come up with and compose from the original music, and get permission to make sure that they can play it. Otherwise, there are definitely heavy fines. So I would assume, and again, that's an assumption, that our band director is making sure that this is the music that they're playing. There is no copyright infringement, and there's a multitude of music out there that's free to use, and generally they write their programs around that too. So, but there have been some issues, especially with the groups that I'm involved with this particular issue. And what's happened is they make videos that portion of the video has been blacked out, and the audio has been taken out so that there is no copyright infringement. So anyway,
as we go more into streaming things and
right,
online.
exactly.
But so it sounds like more it's, if the school isn't already paying something of this sort, whose budget do we put it under? Is that what, does Mike feel that that's the best place for the, I mean.
That's, BMI contacted Parks and Recreation
Okay.
directly.
Yeah,
And then, because he wasn't getting any answers, he called me.
and I think I don't think this is a school issue. To me, this would be come under either Parks and Rec or our overall insurance line item. It's insurance, pretty much, right?
It's a license fee.
Yeah, okay. We must have a line item in the budget for that?
No.
No, of course not. What about our insurance line item? You guys have any money in your budget left to pay this?
We have the money in our budget to pay this.
Okay. So by right, and I'll put this to Mike, if we as a board said, voted to pay this, can we take it out of, do we have the right to take it out of the Park and Rec budget?
The way, probably,
Okay.
but
We can also,
they're an advisory, but they're independent too. They're
Mhm.
appointed by you.
Okay.
I think, I can also take back to the Park and Rec, the selectmen's wishes that we pay it. Might make the paperwork easier.
Okay, I get where you're going with that. Phil, you had a question?
This is, to be honest with you, I know nothing about copyright, music copyright laws. So if I started belting up some Justin Bieber right now on TV, they could sue me,
No,
sue the town.
we'd kill you first. You don't have to worry about lawsuit. You start singing Justin Bieber, no.
I think there was some concern of members.
I would hope
Number
you
one
would.
is, it's just one of,
Get out of my
ma-
misery.
it's just one of many organizations that will come after us, and will this fee increase over time? And by paying it, as we now, by paying it, open ourselves up to be required to pay it continuously. I think,
It'll be annual, and you may have ASCAP coming after you next,
yeah.
to answer your question.
My, the only
So-
comment I have on this is that
Two
I don't
licenses.
understand why this would even fall under Park and Recs. You do some events, you're a small portion of all of the music that's played in the town, whether, considering other organizations and stuff. Why wouldn't we just have this out of the general
Yeah, general fund.
operating budget?
We can going forward, sure.
But most of the events are under the control of the Parks and Rec. All the concert
Yeah, I mean,
series.
we
They
had,
give permission.
Right.
They're the
Right.
permitting body.
Yeah, okay. Stu, do you have a question?
No, I was just saying the ASCAP is usually the other licensing.
you know, that's-
So let's do this. I would entertain a motion to request that the Parks and Rec Commission reconsider their vote on this particular BMI contract.
Second.
Well,
Oh, so moved, sorry.
yeah,
Can we,
we can ask them to reconsider their vote. Sure, we can.
I think that's a viable way out of this.
So I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it, Dave.
Okay. So all we're doing is asking them to reconsider it
See if we can get
and see what,
handled.
and knowing that the discussion has been, we feel that this probably should be paid. Okay? All right, so all those in favor? Oh, discussion, excuse me, sorry.
So moving forward, will we be trying to put this in the general budget?
Yeah, I think so. Let's see what transpires through Parks and Rec. But, yeah, I would say for next year's budget, sure, we should write this down as an exception that we're gonna probably wanna put it in the regular town budget.
Unless they wanna keep it there.
Yeah. Well, we'll give you the extra money if we'll maybe appropriate a little bit more. We can talk to FinCom about that
Okay.
when the budget comes around. All right, so, all those in favor? Aye.
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 Okay. What's that?
Please reconsider the vote.
No, I mean, I think it goes along with it. This whole situation a little bit confusing for them. They had some general questions about spending taxpayers' money on the, and I hate to
Which is
say it,
legit.
but, you're getting someone who, you're getting the lawyers who give us direction where they say, there's no reason for them to say don't pay it, right? Because our legal counsel is basically trying to, they're not the taxpayer. If you ask them 100 times whether we should be paying this or not, their answer would be pay it, because
It's
it takes the
insurance, you
liability.
hope
He
you
didn't
never
say
have
pay it,
to
he
use
said
it,
it's more
right?
expensive to defend it than pay
Right.
it, so. Anyway, okay, we're moving right along. Okay,
Okay,
next.
all right, so we have a request for the CPC committee for given us by the Georgetown Athletic Association, who had also worked with the Georgetown School Committee, on a proposal to create an AstroTurf field at the Georgetown High School. And Johnny Pinkerman, the GAA, will give you a quick synopsis of what that involves. Talking to Harry Locatier at the CPC, this is going to get fairly confusing, because one of the things that we as members of the CPC are going to want to know is, before we go any further, is the Conservation Commission and some of these boards going to be on board, because this is going to be a fairly involved process and we need to get started right away on, for instance, a conservation NOI. But the GAA really can't do that because they're not a town entity. So after finagling the time span, and if this town wanted to look at the possibility as this is something to do with, on the CPC money and the funds, it became quite evident that one of the easiest ways to do it would be to form a subcommittee under the Georgetown Park and Rec, with certain members involved to investigate this and report back to the town. And one of the first things they would do is they would file an NOI, a conservation NOI, as part of a subcommittee of the Park and Rec, which being a town government is transferable if down the road the town approves it. So it's a little bit confusing, and truthfully, I was, the Park and Rec had a vote, and we said we'd do anything that was necessary to make this process go forward. Carol Jacobs has recommended 3 members from the school department, and Johnny Pingree recommended 4 members from the GAA. And my request here is for you is to consider making a subcommittee to investigate the financial and other issues involved with the potential of creating an AstroTurf field. Now, if you want Johnny to go over that a little bit more, I'll step out of it from that point.
You guys want to quickly?
5-minute abbreviated.
Okay, quickly, I was probably here 5 or 6 years ago, presented the plan. We were trying to take it as a private organization through the town process, and it was difficult doing private money on public land. There was just no easy and clean way to get that done. So Mr. Locatier had come up with this idea of creating a subcommittee under Park and Rec. The other thing that's changed from what we were doing before is there was a law passed that allows CPC money to be used on existing facilities now where it didn't before. That's been the slowdown all along. It still does not allow CPC money to be used on the field turf itself. And that's where we're going to be looking for private donations spearheaded by GAA from anywhere between 300 to 500,000. It's going to be a private donation to the town to make this project go forward. So there is a private donation. Hopefully it's not all GAA, but if it's going to be all GAA, it will be all GAA. We are committed to putting the field turf aspect of it, and that will be our end. We will try to raise private money, like I said, but we will commit to having that money available to go. So with all that being said, the law was just passed 6 months ago. Now we're back here again. We're trying to go through school committee. We've met with Carol many times back here and trying to take this process forward. And the next step that they say, recommended by Harry, was to try to set up this committee so that we have everything happening with public boards, not a private organization trying to push it, although there will be private money just being donated, that's all. So with that being said, there's really nothing different in the plans than some of you guys were here when I presented them before. It is going to be a multi-purpose field. It'll have baseball, soccer, lacrosse, and football. There'll be permanent lines for 3 of those sports on there. Actually, all 4. Baseball will be in there. There'll be nothing but turf on this field. It'll be 100% turf. So it will be, even the baseball field, it will be turf. So you can use it for a lot of other stuff too on the side. So it will be very neat and clean.
Do you want to throw out some rough numbers? I think you would look at a 1.3, 1.4.
Yeah, I mean, the rough numbers are 1.3, 1.4 million. Like I said, it's probably looking at, up to 500,000 from a private donation, the field turf aspect of it. And then
So-
you're looking at lights, stands, drainage, all the infrastructure work, shall we say, clearing. There might be some retaining walls,
About $2
fencing.
million.
No.
No,
No,
1.3, 1.4 million.
Oh,
So we're probably looking for about 800,000 in CPC funds to go forward
Now,
with
as
the
a
project.
as a taxpayer, of course, that money's in the fund, and it's about 50% matching funds from the state. So as a taxpayer, it's about 400,000 actually coming out of the town tax, because the town was matching the state was matching dollar for dollar. Not so much now, but originally. Yeah, right. So let's say there's 500,000. So basically, it's a $1.3 million project. But potentially, is out of the taxpayers' pool is 500,000.
Okay.
And now there's a whole other set of issues. There's a set of, are we going to float a bond through the CPC, and does the CPC think that this is something they want to do? It's a long-term commitment, because we don't have the money to pay for this in 1 year. Do we pay it in 5? Do we pay it in 10? Do we pay it in 15? So we, as a CPC, Harry's looking at those issues, because, and it all depends on if the town is in favor or not. As we move forward with this process, depending on the feedback we get, we'll continue until we hit a roadblock, so.
Yeah, really, I'd like to just get it in front of the town for a vote. They vote yes, fine. They vote no, fine, we'll go a different direction. I mean, it's really, for our end, I mean, we need it because the fields are not very good. We barely have any grass. You can't use that high school football field. It needs a tremendous amount of work. It's a mess down there. We try to, we're trying to Band-Aid it, and just doesn't, it doesn't drain. You can't use it. They stay off it. It's still no good. One day, one football game down there and it's ruined. So, I mean, a lot of these kids are going through the schools and they're not even getting to use that field like they should be able to. So, that's probably
The location is the current.
the high school football field itself. That's the location. I think that's the field that, needs probably the most work. I mean, in order to make it a viable field that you can use all the time. And plus it's down low, it sits nice, it would be a nice community thing. I mean, we'd like to have, night football games there with our kids, the GAA kids coming out and playing like a little halftime, 20-minute thing at Friday nights or something like that, Friday night under the lights. And, same thing with lacrosse and soccer, where we can build our programs and feed the high school sports all the way up. And the benefit to it is that it's on a town piece of property instead of on a private piece of property where these kids are going to use it from a young age right up through, right up through high school.
My initial thought is, I think it's a great idea, but I have some concerns about maintenance after the fact. Well, I have how we're gonna fund it, number one. Harry, you got enough money in the CPC to write the check?
I can address that, though. What we agreed with the school committee was that GA would pay for the turf, and then also we would put a contingency fee in place, so we do an antiseptic clean on a yearly basis, and also the carpet right now is a 15-year lifetime. GA would put a committed amount of money on a yearly basis aside, so we would be able to replace this carpet when it came due. So the school
Just state your name so that we have it for the record.
Mark Perry. I'm with the GAAs also.
Yep.
So those were issues that were brought up when the turf project was brought to put the field up top. So cleaning it and also replacing it is part of the GAA's responsibility. In turn, the GAA will look for a contract with the school, a commitment, 5:30 at night, high school is off, we have lights till 9 o'clock. Youth soccer will be on that field, all the different sports. And what's happening now is a majority of the varsity soccer games are being played down at West Street. So what happens is the field is not able to be used in the afternoon at 3:30. If you're a parent here and you have a kid, you might have gotten a call from me in the last couple of years. All soccer practices are moved. No soccer practice Wednesday afternoon, soccer's going to West Street. So we'll be able to take some of the pressure off of West Street, some of the pressure off the top fields as well, and we'll use it 7 days a week.
As far as the electricity, the cost of the electricity and everything, GAA would be responsible for the lights?
Well, the electricity would have to be hooked into the town service.
Okay.
We can put a generator there for backup, or you could run the lights off generator, but the generator is $300,000 to $400,000.
Well, again, I was concerned about the cost going forward.
Right.
And so lights are expensive. I mean, it's
Well,
not
we
cheap.
light American Legion.
Okay.
The town pays for that.
Okay.
We light Pembroke. The town pays for that.
Okay.
So
The town
we-
pays for it, or you're getting it as a part of a in-kind donation from the electric department? Do we know that, Mike, for sure?
I don't know.
I'd like to get, I'd love to have that answer. The electric bill?
Well, right now, we get the electric bills for the Pembroke, all the schools, so
Okay.
if it's connected to the schools, then
Okay.
we're paying it.
I'm not sure if it's into the service for the town or into the service for the school.
Well, I'd like to have that, that would be one thing that
Well,
we
we
should.
pay
It would
all
have
the
to be
electric
at the
bills,
school.
Yeah,
whether they're school or town.
okay. All right. So those other fields would go dark a little bit more to offset having the
There's no
practice.
lights
in
at
the-
the other fields.
Well, you just said there's lights.
Well,
lighting.
you
Oh,
wouldn't
West
have,
Street.
you wouldn't have Pembroke up and running all the time, and then you wouldn't have the American Legion running.
So it
'cause
should
we'd be
disperse
right back.
itself pretty much across the board. All right. Well, my initial thought, and then we'll open up for questions, is that my suggestion would be that the Parks and Rec actually submit a document to us that says, and if you haven't already done so, I don't think you have, that
No.
says who should be on the committee,
Okay,
not people, but who with certain expertise should be on the committee.
okay.
So we have a cross-section, and representation from the town. I think, one suggestion would maybe somebody from CPC should definitely be on there, Parks and Rec, and Jim, I don't know, you're on CPC also, right?
Correct.
So maybe you're the representative for CPC, just because we're talking about using CPC's money. Mr. Locatiglio, you have a question?
Yeah, I think maybe a little bit something got lost in translation. It almost sounded as though this was gonna be a subcommittee under the Park and Rec,
Right.
and I don't envision it that way, and maybe I presented it incorrectly, or I misinformed you when I did present the idea. It would seem to me, and the driving factor behind this is that if this project goes forward and gets a recommendation from the CPC, and if it goes to town meeting on the warrant, and if it gets approved by the voters, at that point, an entity would have to be the one to cut the checks and do all the work, and the idea of the GAA as a private organization would mean that we would have to have a grant agreement, which Mike can tell you some of the grant agreements that we've written in the past. They're extensive. This would be, I can't even think of the enormity of the sides that we'd have to build into this, the walls that we'd have to build into this agreement. I wouldn't even want to go there because it would just be so much. And that could be an expensive venture, and it could be a very, very time-consuming venture too. So the idea being more on the, using the model of the recreational path, which is a board, to my understanding, which is annually appointed by the Board of Selectmen, a standing board.
Right.
It would be an entity unto which CPA monies could be assigned.
Right.
And in the same way that the the recreational path committee monthly sends the CPC bill requests.
Same thing as the school building committee. And that was my thought process. The school building committee has this cross-section of representation of, there's an architect, there's education, there's a whole bunch of criteria. And that's something I would want, submitted to us to say, this would be the committee, not the actual names, but these are the areas.
Types of people.
Types of people.
Professionals.
We need two architects, I'm just throwing this out as two people from GAA, maybe the high school football coach, I don't know who it is, have to be Georgetown residents though, obviously.
Sure.
So maybe suggest that to us, we'll hash it out, and then we'll go from there. I think it's a great idea worth pursuing, at least my thought process.
Can we also use this airtime to request that anybody who outside of these committees who are interested to notify the Park and Rec to their wanting to be considered, I
Right.
guess.
Again, I think we want to look for the specific disciplines first,
Sure.
and then figure out, then plug people in.
Okay.
So, I'm gonna open up to this board before I recognize you, Harry. Anybody have questions, thoughts, comments?
Where do I start? One, I really like the idea. I know that you guys have been working really, really hard for a number of years on a plan to try to do something. I have a couple of questions. One is this, do you see this as an opportunity for a revenue source for the town?
It could be. We've discussed it. You'd have to, rent it out or something like that, 8 or 9 to outside soccer, something like that. We hadn't come to any kind of an agreement on who would run that or who would handle that type of a thing. We've talked about that with the superintendent of the schools, and it's definitely a possibility. There are leagues out there that are looking for places to play, so there could be a revenue stream here, yes.
So this is on the existing location where the football field is right now?
It is.
I'm sure you guys looked at everywhere else in your due diligence, but the area up top isn't large enough to accommodate what you're trying
It's large enough. That's not the issue up top. The issue up top is you're looking at probably $1 million just for access to get up there. So, I mean, money-wise, it's almost a non-starter. I mean, the original project was started by Heather Hartford with Gail, probably back in, I don't even know, probably 8 years ago, 8 or 9 years ago. And she was trying to get an override done and all kinds of other things, but she was looking at $3 or $4 million with a track and all this other stuff, and it just went nowhere. I mean, people had no appetite for any more money on their taxes or anything like that, and that was back then, never mind after we've already passed a couple of overrides. And, you know, quite honestly, I don't think there should be a tax override for something like this. I think if we can handle it with private donations and money that's already been collected through CPC, then it's, you know, a much more saleable and feasible project, so.
Is the area up top larger than that area below?
It is larger, yes.
So have you guys?
But I mean, you have a lot of clear too. You have ledge up there. I mean, we looked into having those fields combined up top and just to clear the ledge and make, you know, open all, you know what I'm talking about? There's a big knoll in between. I don't know if you guys have been up behind that high school
Oh, yeah,
lately. There's a big knoll up
Mush
there.
ball, we were up there
Right.
practicing.
Well, if you want to spread that out and clear the knoll and open it up and gain some fields and do some different things, I mean, we looked at that. It was 600,000 just to.
The two levels are tiered
Yeah.
differently.
No, I absolutely understand.
So-
I play up there all the time.
Just to get to the level where the bottom field is now would be 600,000. To make it ADA compliant, it starts at about $175,000, and then you have the facility issues up there. So the extra cost of running the electrical up there, there's a lot of cost. So
We're quoting a grass field too, by the way, not a, you know, that's just not a turf field. That's just opening up for grass and expanding the field.
I just have this great master plan idea to put a parking lot where that field is right now and build up top and make those fields
Well,
up
if
there.
you want to spend $5 million, I mean, you know, or more.
I don't, you know,
No,
I'd rather spend
I think,
$5.
I think the town
Yeah.
needs, I think the town needs a track, and we've identified that as one of the two potential. I mean, it'd be nice to have a track up, even if it's just a grass field as stage 2. But right now, you know, that's still a $2.5, $3 million project. And as Johnny's identified, this could be done in a year and a half and be at 1.3, 1.4. You know, if it ends up being a success, maybe the town would be up to, you know, like you said, it becomes a question of how, you know, we're gonna put an AstroTurf field, we're gonna, like all the other communities are doing, and we're gonna get involved in this. I'd be ecstatic if someone said, let's take $5 million and do it right.
No, I mean,
But
guys,
it's just not,
again, this is just.
I think we're really getting
some ideas.
specific.
I'm
Yeah.
not looking for that. Is there room for stands? I mean, is this
There is,
plan
right there.
Yeah.
on both
Stands
real?
already
I
in there.
mean,
That's an engineered plan there. I didn't draw that plan, I can assure you.
I
That's
could
an
tell.
engineered plan. Thanks. But that's an engineered plan from Gale Associates, and, you know, they've done all the stuff. They've actually done test pits over there, and so we've done some stuff. The CPC had granted us $10,000 years back to do a preliminary study on this site and to see what, you know, if it would fit and how it would work and how it would lay out, and this is the plan that he put together for us. Now, like I said, it's been sitting around because we've been, you know, waiting for that law to change so that you could, you know, renovate existing structures with CPC money, and now that that law has changed, we're in position to make this go forward.
have you guys thought or considered the new Pembroke School, considering all that work is going to be prepped anyhow to do this over there?
We have talked about that, but that didn't go on the bond, and I don't think the school really wanted to add that piece.
The other issue is you cannot appropriate funds in a school 1 through 6 or 1 through 7 for non-use of majority of the students in that school. Carol looked at that, so there's some issues there because this would be high school and others.
I think it's a good idea. I think it's a great idea. I want to see this successfully, you know, put a real solid plan together. Whatever we can do to support you to put that plan together, it's going to be really important to get the details of that.
I mean, I even suggested that Pembroke, if they had kept the gym, the lobby, and the cafeteria, you could put a track in that area and make that a stadium, but that, can't do that with the way the school funding goes. It's gotta be torn down and redone.
Right.
So, just the way
We are gaining
We-
a field there, but
but we've looked at multiple options. We've worked the issue, and like I said, it's not the ideal, but it's a quick turnaround. The money is at a number I think the town can swallow. I think it might be potentially something the CPC could fund, because remember, we only get so much money in. So there's gonna be some concerns with members of the CPC as far as how much it's gonna affect the community, always drawing out whether that be 50, 60, 70,000 dollars a year out of the CPC fund for the next 10, 12.
I think that's really getting really too specific.
No,
at this
no, but
point.
those are the numbers,
Right.
that's what the committee's gonna get involved with, and we wanna get that out to the people in town. These are the numbers that we're gonna have
Let's
to
get the
crunch
committee
numbers.
first, and that the committee's job will
Sure.
be to get all that researched and figured out. Mike.
Mr. Chairman, when you're talking about the committee, one important part that was missing was the school committee. Matter of fact, I think legally they should be taking the lead on this.
Okay.
They are, we own the property, but they are responsible for the maintenance of the building and the fields.
Carol's written a letter, she's recommended
that's all right.
herself and 2 other people, so I mean, they're involved in that
Well, that's why I say, let's get the specifics of what your suggestion is, then we'll meet with school committee and go over it, or, forward it over.
And I think you need to include somebody from finance committee.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. CPC, FinCom, Selectmen,
Okay.
probably school committee, there's gonna have to
And
be a
conservation
bunch of
committee, yeah,
people.
we want- That's fine.
Mr. Harry.
Yeah, just a question about the committee. Is this board the board that would, is this committee, would this be the committee that would actually move forward and be the ones to approve the bills?
Again, that's really
Or
specific
is
at
this
this point.
exploratory?
I would say exploratory at first, and then commission.
It would be the school committee.
Right, that's gonna have to, all that budget would probably fall into the school committee. Again, I get that we get really specific, too specific. Get us the complexion of the committee and the disciplines that you think should be on this committee. We'll take our own advisement, and then we'll talk with school committee, and then we'll go from there.
Harry, your point, I completely understand.
Yeah, who
It's
gets
the
it on the
flow.
warrant?
Yeah,
We'll
it's-
get to
I
that.
I think we're way
this
too early in
is
the game.
exploratory
Do we,
right
do we
now.
want to explore the possibility of going forward with this? I think that's first. Let's give us the disciplines of what you think should be on the committee, and then we'll go from there. Anybody else?
I have a
Gary? I'll go to Gary first. Good.
Yeah, I've seen this presentation, and I also thought that it's excellent and needs to be followed up on. But you started off kind of with conservation. And if I remember correctly, this was going to clean up a lot of the problems, I believe. They're also gonna correct some of the drainage issues and that we have. And just, you mentioned thoughts, and I thought I just heard it out there, but you might wanna, instead of always fighting with Conservation Commission, it seems like we are, maybe we wanna put one of them on this also, that we might wanna consider somebody from that board.
And when you say, I think I'll take it back to the CPC and we'll form that mix of people. I mean, this, right? Is
A
that-
recommendation to us,
Right.
and then from there, we'll take it from there. That would be my suggestion, and
Sure.
Stu has a question, so.
I was just curious, the size of that, would that fit into the other project over behind the church? Where the other fields are being planned? Or not? Do we know? Have we considered that? I don't know if that's a consideration, it's just kind of thinking
No, 'cause I mean, we don't have the room, we wouldn't have the room to put that
that
there.
wouldn't fit in there.
No.
Okay.
The problem is the school would lose the benefit of it. I mean, the GAA would still get the benefit of it, but the school would lose the benefit of getting a nice.
Yeah, right
field.
off there.
Locker room, showers,
Yeah.
everything's right
Yeah,
there.
it's
Yep.
just-
No, I was just asking
I
the
mean,
question.
I look at this as a win-win because the GAA is gonna get benefit because we're gonna use it, but the school, they're gonna
Yeah,
get
no, I think
basically a
it's a
half
great
$1 million
idea, so.
donation, and they're getting the benefit. But I look at that as the town, the kids start up with us at a
Yeah, and
young
then they get
age
to
and they
use it
go all the way through.
Yeah.
So
It's a fabulous idea.
even though it's GAA that's driving it and probably gonna put the lion's share of the money into the, the private donation part, the kids are gonna benefit from the age of, T-ball or whatever they
Yeah.
start at 4 or 5 years old, all the way to their senior.
Yep.
Now-
No,
now
I think
with-
it's a wonderful project, so.
Now with
definitely
soccer,
support it.
lacrosse, and football, I mean, men's and women's, they got, that field will be boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
It'll be, as soon as someone's off, someone will be running back on. You can't do that with the grass field. So the usage will be 4 or 5-fold of what you get out of a grass field.
Can these fields take that kind of wear and
Oh,
tear?
yeah,
They-
absolutely,
yeah.
yep, they
Okay.
can. They're saying 15 years, what Mark had said is 15 years. By the time we get this down, and I'm hoping for next summer, if things go right, they may even have a 20-year warranty on these fields. That's how advanced they're becoming with this turf going forward.
Is it a similar field as I've seen in North Reading?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're familiar with that
Oh,
one?
sure.
That's
North
what
Reading.
said,
Reading
that
is
same
most-
kind of
is most
material.
Yeah, I
in
can
it?
show you some. This Gale Associates is the people that, you know, we'll have the
Those same
engineers out
field
for
as I've
everything.
seen played over there.
But
'cause
they've
that's a
done
great
all
field.
these fields, did Dartmouth, did a lot of these different
Okay.
fields, and, you know, if you wanna go through this, I can show you a bunch of, I mean, I won't bog your board.
No, I
down.
think,
no,
I
it's
think,
great.
I
I
think,
just wanna make
No,
one
not-
last
not
statement.
now, that's fine, later
One of the
on.
benefits of being late is, I think at this point in AstroTurf, they've gotten rid of some of the bugs that they had
Right.
early on.
They've come a real
They don't
long
call it
way.
AstroTurf anymore.
Yeah, I was gonna
Right,
say,
right.
Jim,
Field turf.
Well, there you go, there you
So
go.
just so
That's
you-
where my wife works.
No, thank you. I'm like, really?
It's not AstroTurf.
I'm picturing the carpet and I'm like, no, that's
My
not
wife's
where we're going.
school, my wife's
Serious
school,
rug burn. You
That's
know?
a copyright infringement.
Yeah. Exactly.
my wife's
BMI's
school has
coming after
installed it, and they've hosted tournaments, they've hosted,
Right.
you know, other events there, and the field is fantastic, and it's held up fairly well. There is some maintenance, so that would be one area that I would, again, when we get to that committee, I think the deliverable at this point is
Sure.
action plan. Let's suggest who you think should be on the committee, and get that back to us, and then we'll go from there, because I think we have agreement that we want to pursue.
Yeah.
forward. All right, one more question, and then we're gonna cut it there.
Not so much a question, just a couple of statements, and naturally, the CPA monies can't pay for the rug itself.
Mhm.
We cannot pay for the CPA monies, can't spend for the maintenance. And when you asked the very good question about revenues that may be generated from things occurring there, we have to be very careful, because DOR might look at that as something that would be stadium-like, where you'd have a gate and you charge an admission, and that would be stadium-like, and under CPA cannot.
I think that's really specific right now. Again,
So,
right,
caveat.
right. Well, let me ask you a question. They charge now to get in the football game?
Not anymore, we don't have games at home, we can't have games here.
No,
Our
they
gates are all
charge.
going away.
Yeah, no, they charge. I was there last week.
So they charge,
$6.
we're
Yeah.
going to the school
And
department's
whatever
budget,
they
but
do
something
now-
we'd have to look at that.
We rent the fields out now. There was a field hockey league that was running on the fields for the last couple of years, and they have an agreement, a contract with the school department. And
Yeah, but
they
he's
pay-
talking CPA specific, right? The the comment that I just have is this: see if without recreating the wheel, see if there are any other communities that have done this public-private partnership before and have been successfully gone through it. Because I hate to see us try to reinvent something.
Yeah, if we
when
can
there's
pull a
already
template from
process that
somewhere,
might-
that's
someone's
great. You know?
used before.
Yeah, we've looked at all the surrounding towns. I've looked at North Andover, Amesbury. I don't think there's anything with the.
Yeah, but go statewide.
Yeah, I'll go.
See
Okay.
if you can.
And
pick
most of
something
those
up.
projects are done by the towns themselves. Like
Okay.
Manchester, Essex, for instance, they put in 2 fields, 2 turf fields. So
I would.
but they did it as a town project. There's no
I
private
would be
outside.
hard pressed to not know anywhere in the country, whether it's the states or wherever in the
Somebody's
United
doing
States,
private.
someone hasn't done a private.
It's gotta be
private field
somebody.
like
Well,
this.
North Reading, I think, was done completely with a private donation, but I'm not sure how they
Yeah,
put it all
Triton is
together.
gonna be done, with a $500,000 from Institute for Savings.
So there you go.
They're getting a major donation.
They're getting a donation.
But the school is the school is
So it's
footing the
donated
rest.
to
It's
the
really
school.
no different
Yeah.
than what we're doing.
So we'll take
Yeah.
a donation from the GAA.
Well, I think you got
We're trying to
consensus.
do.
Exactly
I
what
think you
we're
pretty much
trying.
have consensus from this board that it's worth pursuing. Get us the suggestion back of who should be on the committee, and then we'll take the next steps forward. How's that?
Okay, great.
All right,
Sounds good.
gentlemen,
Thank you for your
everybody.
time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, old business. Mike, police department declaration of surplus property. We're back on this pickup truck. Right?
Yes.
Okay, you have the floor.
Well, Lieutenant Cudmore spoke with the superintendent, and the superintendent agreed that it would not be a wise thing to keep the truck into operating condition.
Okay.
So, we're just asking it to be made surplus, and we'll get rid of it for scrap, basically.
Well, your fire department can't use it to cut up or do some training?
Well, they used the chief's old cruiser and the
Council on Aging.
Council on Aging bus. We just actually got a check for a little over $700 for the scrapping those 2 things.
All right.
But we'd probably want to get it out of the parking lot.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, so we need to make a motion on to accept or declare this particular vehicle as surplus property. You want to take a shot at that? How about this? I would entertain a motion to accept the recommendation for surplus property as submitted by Lieutenant Cudmore in his memo dated 10/20-12.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Okay. We have an Eagle Scout Court of Honor for Eric. I want to say Lowell, either Locke or Lowell, Loehle. Congratulations. It's a phenomenal feat, and you should be very proud, and we're proud of you. And a representative, I think Mr. Trapani, is going to be coming to the actual ceremony this coming, that's Saturday, right? 24th?
24th is.
24th of November. So we have all the information. And again, congratulations. Fantastic achievement. And we'll see you. Again, our representative will be there to congratulate you. We have a project management services contract for signature. Mike, do you want to talk about that rather quickly?
Yes, this is to continue the municipal project with the school. They're our owner's project manager, and it was budgeted and accepted by MSBA and the voters. We only authorized them to do the feasibility and schematic design phase. Now that that's completed, they're going to move into the design development and the construction phase.
Okay.
So we need to amend their contract to include those additional services.
Is it reviewed by legal counsel?
Yes.
Okay. Again, not much we can change there because of comes from the MSBA, right?
Correct.
All right. Okay, so anybody want to take a stab at that?
Yeah. I'm gonna put a sticky there. If you wanna wrap it up with
Mr.
that.
Chair, I move that we accept this contract for management services amendment number 2, attachment B, as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Mr. Fowler?
The construction budget, the figure there, now that differs from what's off from the original 46 million something.
Well, this is just for the construction. It doesn't include design fees and things like that.
This would be a sub-piece of the whole total.
We're gonna be seeing another, I mean,
More to come.
this contract is only
So that's
only
yeah.
$1.3 million.
So the-
Yeah, we got a long ways to go to
so
get
the-
there.
yeah, let me just, the other approximately 9.5 million will be by the architects, will that be?
No, because this includes, the major part of it's gonna be the construction.
Okay.
We'll be getting another similar contract amendment for DRA.
Is this then, let me ask it, is this pretty much covers the part that MSBA is pretty much reimbursing us equal for?
They will be paying 54% of this.
Okay,
If
so
that's-
that's what this 36,979,000 is. This is what's being matched by Mass School Building Authority?
Not the 36 million, no.
No,
No.
it-
What you have to do is look at the overall budget. This is one of the pieces of the budget. Of that 46, the entire 46 million, $36 million is the construction piece. We'd have to see the breakdown of the budget.
right.
We don't have it with us, do we?
No.
Yeah,
So you have to look at the
it's not
overall
broken
budget that was
down in here.
presented, line item for line item, and sub-caption. 36,979,564 is a piece of the 46 million.
Yes.
But right now, we would be signing on 1,322,669, and that's all for the feasibility, design, construction, documents phase, construction phase, and completion phase, excuse me. So I'll be willing to, I go over this with you, Gary. I'll get the overall budget and can show you
Well, I
where
was
they're.
just interested in that
subbing
figure
that
down the
36.
bottom, and
Yeah.
we can,
We can take a look at that. I'd like to see where that number falls in the overall budget too.
Question, the site work was not included in the reimbursement, right?
That's right.
A portion of it was, up to a maximum. There's a cap on that.
Okay.
8% of the
Right.
site work, and then whatever the reimbursement is of that 8%.
Right.
Okay.
And then anything above that is on our own, and that's where
That's what.
that's why it is. If you took the 46 million and divided it in half, that's 23 million. We're only getting 20
Yeah, that's
because
what
we're
we're getting
over
at,
on some things, right?
26.
Right,
Okay,
okay.
thank you.
All right, so we have a motion. Do we have a second? Did you
Bill
second that?
seconded it.
Okay.
No, we did, we were in
Okay,
discussion.
sorry, oh, my bad. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Okay. Motion carries. And we do have, before we get into Selectmen's report, I do have a notice from Peter Durkee, Highway Surveyor, that a reminder, December 1st, the town's winter parking ban will take effect. It'll be in effect until April 1st. No parking on any street is allowed between the hours of 1 a.m. and 6 a.m. No parking is allowed on any street during a declared snow emergency. This is always done when any independent storm is forecasted to be 6 inches or more in depth. The Boston radio stations are also notified. Any vehicle impeding or blocking snow and ice control will be towed at the owner's expense. If you're parking in the overnight park and ride lot, and this is important, please park all cars on the right side when entering from East Main Street during snowstorms. It allows Peter and his crew to get things cleared up. And again, this will be, I'm sure, going to be also on cable TV to let people know, and in the newspaper. So please, December 1st, the winter parking ban takes place. All right, moving right along to the Selectmen's report. I don't think we, other than that, correspondence, I don't think there's anything else.
We got,
Did I miss something? Let me know if I did, because it's, yeah, we got a letter, and I think it's, I don't know if
I mean,
that's
I shouldn't
correspondence
laugh.
to
I
be
mean, someone took the
discussed.
time to write us a letter.
I took the time to put 2 phone calls in and never got a response.
Okay.
So, again, I don't know who the individual is, I don't know what business he's referring to. We got a letter, a complaint letter, on a particular business, and, I don't even want to assume. I called and left 2 messages and have had no response. Do we know what business this is? Can you let us know?
It's from the tavern, well, Rory O'Connor's, which was the
Rory
tavern.
O'Connor's, okay.
Was the owner when it was the tavern, which is about 3 owners ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's as I think he said on the bottom, it's a overdue letter that he was just making a.
Okay. So this is from
It's-
a while
yeah,
ago.
He doesn't even own the building anymore. Someone
Okay.
else owns it.
I put 2 phone calls in and no response, so.
Okay.
All right, town administrator's report. Mike?
First thing I wanted to discuss with the board is town hall the holiday schedule. As you know, Christmas is on a Tuesday, and New Year's Day is a Tuesday, both holidays. We have a floating holiday coming up this week, and which is the Friday after Thanksgiving. And people have to use the floating holiday within
60 days.
60 days of the holiday, or they lose it. Would the board want to consider closing all day on that Monday, the 24th, before Christmas? And/or the 31st for, most of the time, we close our doors at noon on the Christmas Eve. Instead of tracking everybody's floating holiday, you could say that's gonna be your floating holiday. Unless you feel it's important that the town hall be open that day.
Any feelings on the matter?
What,
Mr. Fowler?
just to clear up, do you get a half a day on the day before, or do you not have?
It's unofficial.
It's all, okay.
Okay. You know, I say, town hall should be open half a day on the Monday, on Christmas Eve. I'd say by noontime, we shut our doors. I think that's pretty standard practice amongst regular industry, so And same thing with New Year's Eve, I would say, noontime. That would be my suggestion, but, anybody else have any? I mean, because there could be things that, builders want permits and inspections, and, it could be last minute rush to get things done, before they break for the holiday, so I wouldn't want to see that Monday, shut down. Again, that's just my feeling, so, I would leave that for comment for the rest of the board. If there's anything to add to that?
People will use that as a floating holiday, however. So some offices
one or-
will inevitably be closed because we have mostly one-person offices.
Do they have
So-
a preference either way?
Yeah, what's the
Um,
consensus?
Would they rather have Christmas
I
than
can
New
tell you
Year's?
that.
we didn't take a poll, it's just been.
Anecdotally?
Yeah, Janet's probably more in touch with that than I am.
I would think more people would want the Christmas Eve off. I don't think as many people
On the New Year's Eve?
on New Year's Eve would, but I think there are a lot of people that are planning to take the day off. If not, then may take it as a vacation day, or
Yeah,
use
so-
their floating holiday for it. I mean, most will use their floating holiday.
Right, so if town hall's open, it's partially open either way.
It'll be very skeleton crew to
Right.
begin with.
The cleaning crew will be here.
So, how many one-person departments do we have? Building, we have more than one, right? It's more the building department, and tax department or treasurer's department, somebody would be there, right? Not everybody's gonna take the same day off, are they?
There's no real guidance for that.
Yeah, they can do what they need or want.
Really?
If they're due a day off, yeah.
That's interesting.
I mean, they usually, if they're gonna use a holiday, I mean, a vacation day, they have to request it in advance.
Right. Well, wouldn't they trade off, you get next year, so that the department stays
I mean,
open?
They
Yeah,
try to
I
do
can't
that,
see
but
what-
it does get a little bit difficult.
Right.
It is pretty quiet in here on a holiday. We
Yeah.
don't get
So,
many people to come in. I mean, but historically, it has been pretty quiet.
Okay. Any other feelings from anybody else?
I would just say, let them work it out.
Yeah, I would say, I see.
Perhaps if you've got some two-people offices, it would be nice if they could split the holiday, one for Christmas, one for New Year's, and at least we do maintain a skeleton crew.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, I agree. I'd like to see town hall be open, at least till noontime.
Okay.
That's my suggestion. Again, we can bring it to a vote, or otherwise we just leave it, leave it as is, right? We don't have to vote on anything, because it's, right?
You're using your holiday.
Right. Well, I think we need to have a vote to close town hall.
By saying, because it's been unofficial, by saying you stay open till noon, then you're making it official.
Right. Okay, well then we should vote that then.
Yeah.
I make the motion that we close town hall at noontime on December 24th, 2012.
So moved.
Okay, we have a second? No second.
Do we want to put New Year's in there too? Or you want to do them separate?
No, I would just do,
Well, let's just handle Christmas first.
let's do Christmas first.
Second.
Second, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I don't wanna set policy, as Mike says, that we would basically be doing.
Mhm. Well, have we done this in the past where we actually voted to close at noontime, or?
Not since I've been here.
Right.
And-
Okay.
And
We have used the floater before. We did it when it was, I think Christmas was on a Friday, so we closed on Thursday.
Can
so
I-
Okay.
people- because everybody.
So we
would
have
go on
closed town hall
floaters.
the day before, because we figured everybody was gonna take their floater anyway.
Right,
That's
and
the
people got a floater because we're closed Friday, so they got an extra floater and they
Well,
did for
yeah,
New
they got
Year's,
two
so we would have been
floaters that
having
year.
so many,
It's just
three
way too
floaters that
confusing.
year.
yeah,
Well-
you would have had 3 floating holidays that year, so it,
Town hall is officially open, and I think, we're professionals in the building. If they're gonna take the day off, they think that they don't have enough business, then they're gonna take the day off, if they have the right to do that. We can't,
Right.
legislate that. But I don't, it is unofficial that people take the day off the day before, but they should be doing it on their own time, not the town's time. If it's official, a floating holiday that they have a right to, let them take their by their contract or by their agreement with us.
Okay, so then we probably shouldn't do anything, just let it
Probably
work itself
withdraw.
out. Okay, so, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying nay.
Nay.
Nay. Leave it alone. You guys
Yeah.
work it out. Okay? Thank you. All right.
I'm just on record that we are open and.
Right.
Yeah,
We're gonna stay
yeah,
open and
we're gonna
that's
That's the only reason why. Let them work it out is right.
Right. Okay, ESCO update, Mike?
Boiler's finally in this building, and the lighting is about 90% complete. Lighting still has to be done at the highway department and the public safety building. But the rest of the school projects, with the exception of Pembroke, are done. The lighting that was done in Pembroke, they got complaints that things were too bright.
Really? Really?
Yes.
Turning off some of the banks of light.
Interesting. Wow.
It's been so dark in
But
there
they're
for
probably just
so
used to it.
long, they're
Well,
not used
even
to
our
the
office downstairs
light.
was like, whoa.
It
The
is.
lights, yeah, very,
The
very
lights
bright.
up here, these
Yeah.
are all new
Yeah,
fixtures.
you can see a big difference.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, these are brighter than candles. So.
You're looking HD, buddy.
I don't know about that.
and as you can tell, the air conditioning tower has, construction has started. The trench has been laid with the conduit, and the actual unit will be installed around December 15th. Won't be able to test it until the spring, but it'll be all substantially complete by the January 15th deadline.
Great. Okay. All right. Anything else, Mike, we should be aware of?
No.
Okay. Okay, appointments.
I'm sorry, there was one thing. I just wanted to briefly go over, you've all received the budget versus actual figures, and we're a third of the way through the year, and everything is right on target. We have 37% of our revenues in. Actually, we're way ahead of tax revenue by almost $1.8 million collected year to date. Haven't been able to, Jackie's been out ill, so I haven't been able to talk to her why that is so, but we're at 44% collected versus 33.
Really?
So,
A lot of people pay early.
I'll have to tell my wife to stop paying early.
I know I paid mine early, but.
and the overall budget expenditures are with adjustments for, in the beginning of the year, we make
Seasonal
lump
stuff.
sum payments for most, for a lot of things, but we're within tolerance at 37% spent. So 37% of the revenue's in, 37% of the expenditures are out, and we're in good shape.
Okay. All right, license renewals. We have requests for Theo's and also Pratt Hobbies.
Can we hold Theo's for now?
Hold Theo's,
Yeah, I
okay.
gotta check on that one.
All right, well, secondhand shop, Pratt's Hobbies. Anybody want to take a look at that one?
Mr. Chair, I move that we renew the secondhand shop license for Pratt's Hobbies to expire December 31st, 2013.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, next one is the affordable housing. It's supposed to say Affordable Housing Trust
I-
rather than task force, okay? So, that's okay. We have a request from Mr. Chuck Kelty, who is an attorney, to come on to the Affordable Housing Trust, a board in which both Phil and I sit. He was at our last meeting. We're very comfortable with this, suggesting this appointment. And he's an attorney, lives here in town, been a practicing law an attorney since 1985, and mostly in the real estate area. And I also had the opportunity to meet with him privately, and have no problem suggesting that he be appointed to the Affordable Housing Trust. So I would entertain that motion if somebody wants to take a stab at it. June 30th of 13. He's going to fill the unexpired term of Chaz Waters.
Chair, I move that we appoint Chuck Kelty to the Affordable Housing Trust with the term to expire on June 30th, 2013.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so congratulations, Chuck. Make sure you go in and get sworn in tomorrow, because there's a meeting tomorrow night.
Chop, chop.
Go right to it. Okay, school building committee appointment. As a result of the Pembroke School going forward as voted by the voters, we need to make some additional appointments, and also the feasibility study for the high school. There's some people that we have to put on as non-voting members. Do we have the list? Do we have any list yet?
No, we
Okay,
don't.
we're gonna hold on that then. Well, I'll talk to the school building committee about physical names to be,
Carol wasn't sure which one of the principals
Okay.
needed to be on that, whether it was junior high or the
middle high
senior
school.
high.
Yeah, I thought it was maybe it was Peter, but, okay, we'll get back to the board on that particular appointment. Again, that's because of the extended scope. We have to add somebody from the school, the actual school that's being worked on, so. Okay, anything else to come in front of the Board of Selectmen tonight? Harry?
If I
Yes,
could make a statement.
sure.
I don't know exactly how to say it, but just to the voters, I feel it's unfortunate right now that under this administration, this is the second time now that, well, of which I'm part of, that the town is somewhat divided, I feel, right down the middle. And I just feel that we should be able to do a better job at trying to come up with projects and things that the whole town would get behind. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, next meeting is December 3rd, right here at 7 o'clock. And on behalf of the board and the town, we would like to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy, be safe, and we will reconvene on December 3rd. And again, happy Thanksgiving, and enjoy the football, enjoy the turkey, and again, be safe. Thank you. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good night, everybody.